MD MBA program for people that like really like school and want to get an MD and an MBA right on top of each other. So I've been working with the MS program since December of last year. Before that, I worked with undergrad admissions at Northwestern, so deal with a far lot, less parents than I was once dealing with, which is really nice. But still really love being up here on Northwestern's campus. I'm a Northwestern alum from grad school. Got my degree from CESP, so super connected to Northwestern as well as my other, horribly bad at sports alma mater of Illinois too. So would love to get to know you guys. So if you guys could go around and say maybe your name and then your year and then what you're studying, starting with you.
Sasha, senior LOC.
Awesome.
I'm Erin, I'm a junior, I'm psych and journalism.
Dan, senior economics.
Awesome.
Isabel, you can call me Izzy, journalism, senior, and Spanish.
Okay.
I'm Johnny, I'm a senior in LLC.
Conan, I'm a senior in computer science.
Awesome.
Nikia, senior in LOC.
Okay.
Blake, senior in economics.
Awesome.
JB, senior in political science.
Tommy Doles, senior political science.
Okay, awesome. We've got a good mix here. That's great. So I do want to just talk a little bit about kind of the MSMS experience and why you should pursue an MSMS degree with Kellogg. Talk a little bit about what that experience actually looks like. We have made some changes to the program from last year to this year, so I'll talk about those a little bit more in depth. Talk about what our graduates go on and do, and then also talk about the application process. Obviously, you guys are on Northwestern's campus. You're super familiar with Kellogg and kind of the brand of Kellogg since you're right here, but you probably know that it is one of the top management schools. We're one of kind of the leaders in what we like to call thought leadership here at business schools in the States. And so you'll have the opportunity not just to graduate with an outstanding degree from Northwestern as undergrads, but also have the opportunity to pursue a degree at a top management school as well. And the clicker's not working. Great. So you'll actually have, again, the opportunity to really expose yourself to the Kellogg network. You'll also have the opportunity to learn in downtown Chicago. So Kellogg actually, as you guys all know, has a campus up here in Evanston. We're in that beautiful new building right on the Lakeville. But we also actually have a campus that's right in the heart of downtown Chicago. It's just where the inter-campus shuttle actually drops off. So it's like 2 blocks from Water Tower Place. Also just steps away from a lot of the top employers in downtown, which I think our students really like because they're essentially able to like pop over for an interview and then come back to class. They're able to go job shadow a Kellogg alum or grab coffee with one and then again come back and have like a career coaching appointment. So our downtown campus really is kind of the home base for MSMS. We do have a lot of athletes who are still, coming up to Evanston for practices. So if you are going to be pursuing, say, a 5th year of eligibility for your sport, we do have a lot of students who really do make it work. Oftentimes those students will choose to live in Evanston and just take the inter-campus down for classes. So people definitely make it work whether they are still planning on playing their sport or whether they're just kind of moving on to that next step at Kellogg. So in terms of what the MSMS experience will give you, you'll get kind of this solid business foundation. So I know I was talking with a couple of you earlier about the fact that Northwestern doesn't have an undergraduate business major, which seems to be kind of a hole in the curriculum here for a lot of people. So our goal with the MS in Management Studies program is to basically take whatever you've studied during your undergrad here, whether it's computer science or political science, or journalism, and to give you kind of a business wrapper surrounding that undergraduate discipline that you've been pursuing. You'll take classes that really give you that nice broad base of business knowledge, that nice foundation, and you'll be able to partner with a really passionate career management team. We provide you with a lot of personalized attention, both in your academic pursuits as well as in your career search, because we know that that's going to be really individualized and really personalized from person to person. And then I'll talk a little bit about kind of what it means to be a part of the Kellogg community in terms of the alumni network as well. So this looks a little bit different than the courses that our students are taking this year. We've gotten feedback about our courses from past classes that our students really want to feel like they're more a part of the overall Kellogg community. This past year and in years prior, students have basically moved through our curriculum lockstep. So they've taken all of their classes together as one cohort. So basically, this is kind of the reimagined curricular version of MSMS. The core business classes that you see at the top will still be taken as an MSMS cohort. So those are kind of more of the soft skills that are really going to prep you for things like recruiting. So you'll be taking a class in negotiations. You'll be taking a class in strategic communications, as well as leadership, those are kind of, that's sort of our like all-star lineup in terms of classes. They're generally the most popular classes, so we're still, listening to student feedback, having our students take all of those classes as a cohort together. And then we'll also have some cohort experiences that are more based in practical application. So one of our classes, which I think is like one of the coolest classes that we offer and also is the favorite among all of our students, is our Global Immersion in Management class, or GIM. And GIM at Kellogg is essentially a class where you take 8 weeks of class with a professor, and then you actually get to basically have a study abroad experience as a part of that class. And you go abroad just, I believe, right before spring break. So you're able to kind of study the market that you're going to be visiting, and then actually go and kind of put your assumptions and hypotheses about that market to the test. All of our MSMS students will go on that trip together as a cohort, so it's a really nice kind of capstone experience as well for our students to have before they graduate just 1 quarter later. In that GIM course, the destinations have changed from year to year. So last year, our students had the choice of going to either China or to Latin America. They got to go to Brazil and Chile. This year, we've actually switched that up a little bit. So students are either going to India for a week or 10 days, I think, or they're going to Japan, and they're going to get to visit Tokyo. So you actually get to kind of pick your own adventure there in terms of what really aligns with your interests the most in terms of what trip you go on. Questions about GIM or any of the classes that I just mentioned? Okay. There will also be a couple lab courses that are taken as an MSMS cohort, so that's, again, going to be a really awesome opportunity for you to be able to apply what you've learned within kind of your core classes, as well as within these evening and weekend courses. So this is actually a change to the program, a big change this year. So because of the feedback that we received about students wanting to feel more integrated with our MBA students, we're actually offering up the opportunity for students to take classes with our evening and weekend MBA students. So you'll be, taking classes with evening and weekend MBA professors who teach in the full-time MBA program as well. You'll also be working taking classes alongside working professionals too. You'll get to customize which classes you take. You'll actually work with an academic advisor who can essentially help you handpick classes based on your aspirations and career goals, as well as based on your past experience in the classroom. So if you've taken like economics, you're probably not going to need or want to take economics with our evening and weekend students. You might be placed in, say, like a finance class or a marketing class instead. So again, it's going to be a lot more customizable. Also going to be more customizable when it comes to schedule too. So there are more sections of our evening and weekend courses that are offered. So if it works with, say, your practice schedule or something, to take a class once a week on a Tuesday night or something, this will allow for the opportunity to do that. And Kristen Kane is really, really great at working with our academic support team to make sure that if you need to miss a class for like camp or something, those sessions are going to be videotaped, so you're not going to be missing any of that content. Questions about the course changes?
Can you talk a little bit about the weekend, like what a weekend course would be, how many weekends in a quarter, or what would that look like?
Yeah, so for like our weekend courses, typically classes in the evening and weekend are once a week, 3 hours long. There are multiple classes that are offered on every single night. So on a Tuesday this quarter, there's an economics class being offered, finance, marketing, and business analytics. That's just on one night. So, and that's pretty typical across nights in the program. So you'll have the opportunity, again, to customize in terms of what nights work best with your schedule, as well as what subjects work best. And kind of align with your different goals. And then on the weekend, those classes kind of mirror that approach, so they're each, 3 hours, meet on a Saturday.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
How many classes fulfill the master's in? So like how many classes over the year do you end up taking?
So you'll take 12 classes.
Okay.
Yep. Yeah. So those 3 courses that are kind of those foundational courses at the top, the global immersion course, there will be I believe 1 or 2 lab courses, at least one, and then 6 of the evening and weekend courses that'll be electives. All right, and then in terms of the faculty that teach in our program, our faculty actually all teach also in either the full-time MBA program or in the evening and weekend program. So you'll be, getting exposure to people that are top of their field. Pictured up there is Nicholas Pierce. He's the professor of our leadership and organizations class. He's absolutely fantastic. He's actually won the Faculty Member of the Year awards 3 years running, so he's pretty popular, and people just rave about him. He actually started a global advisory services firm that he also is the CEO of in tandem with working at Kellogg as a professor. So these are people, again, that are top of their field. Nor Katili teaches our negotiations class, so he'll be another professor that you'll come into contact with. And our classes are really interactive. It's never going to be like you're just sitting in a class being lectured at for 3 hours, like I'm lecturing to you guys right now. So Nor Katili essentially will give students a negotiation every single class, and he'll break you out into either small groups or pairs, and you'll have to negotiate against each other. He'll kind of pop around and kind of see what people what tactics people are using, and then you'll come back together and he'll kind of talk about how those historical negotiations have actually come out into play. So, a lot of opportunity to do work in groups. There's a really strong emphasis at Kellogg, because we are so collaborative, of working in teams. That's something that you guys all obviously have exposure to as athletes, and I think our athletes do really well in the classroom because of that kind of teamwork orientation, and that's something that a lot of our professors foster as well. You guys are so quiet tonight. If you guys have questions, please just stop and interrupt me. Okay, and so I know I mentioned our global initiatives and management course, but it is just something I want to highlight again. Like I said, it is 8 weeks of class, followed by a trip to a country or region. Those do change from year to year. As I said, this will continue to be a cohort-style experience, so this will be kind of a capstone experience prior to graduation that our students will get to take advantage of, all together as a full MSMS class.
And can that be taken any quarter, or is
So
there
that's just offered during our winter quarter.
just winter?
Yeah, so that is really, that and then our core courses are those that will be offered kind of lockstep as the MSMS program. But like fall quarter, you'll be able to kind of pick and choose what evening and weekend classes you'll be able to take when, which I think really helps people out who are in season during that time. Same thing goes for also spring too.
What's the typical class size throughout this program?
Glad you asked. So it has really ranged over the past couple of years. So it's been anywhere from having one class section that's been 75 to 2 class sections that have been 30 or 40. This year, and probably the most significant change that we made to the program is that we're only going to be drawing from Northwestern this year. So the program is going to be open only to Northwestern students, to again allow us to integrate you guys into the MBA classes. So it is a decision that we've made. So classes for MSMS probably won't be over, I would say 25 or 30. Yeah.
Are you still taking the same amount of students, or are you cutting down on the amount of students that you guys are accepting?
So it will be smaller for that integration to take place. Don't freak out when I say that. I feel like smaller makes people freak out. So to give you guys a little bit of perspective, we have a lot of really qualified Northwestern students that apply, both athletes and non-athletes. That being said, this year's class is 67 MSMS students. 33 of those are Northwestern students. So, and I would say about 7 or 8 of those are athletes, but that's relative to those that apply. Typically, athletes that apply to our program are really thoughtful in the application that they put together. So I would imagine that we will probably be around that number of Northwestern students that we have in the program this year. Probably somewhere between that number and where we were in our first 2 years when we only took Northwestern students, which was around 20 to 25. So it will be smaller. I think that will allow for a more kind of intimate cohort experience. It'll also allow you to get more out of the program because A, you're able then to take those MBA level classes with other MBA students. You're also going to have a more personalized approach to your academics as well as career management too. And just because we're drawing from Northwestern, it doesn't mean that the program's going to be, you know, any less diverse. Yes, we're only drawing from one institution, but that being said, there will still be international students that are in the program that come from Northwestern. There will be people all over the place in terms of majors, as you can kind of see up there. I mean, we've got a lot of econ majors in the program. We've got someone who studied opera right now. We've got a couple, like Graham Bullmore, who plays football, was a civil engineer here. So we have people like truly all across the board when it comes to majors. We're not exclusionary to any majors from Northwestern. We know that you guys are all pursuing extremely high rigor in the classroom, so you know, anyone's welcome to apply. Any other questions? Okay. So next I just want to talk about career management. So in terms of career management, I know you guys all have access to NU for Life, which is an excellent resource. You'll continue to have access to that through the MSMS program. You'll also have access to career coaching through our Career Management Center at Kellogg. So something that we really pride ourselves on is providing you with that one-to-one personalized career approach. So from the day you step foot in the door, actually sometimes a little bit before you step foot in the door, you're assigned a career coach. You can take advantage of that career coach as much or as little as you want. You're really the driver of your own experience. So with career coaching, we have some people who come in, maybe interned during, you know, spring quarter of their senior year, got a job offer locked down. They're obviously not going to need to use their career coach that much. We have other people, I'll use Luke Otto, for example, who's on the football team with you guys. He came in and really wanted to pursue a career in real estate and decided maybe 2 weeks ago that he wanted to switch into consulting. So he made a little bit of a shift there. He's been meeting with his career coach, Jean, probably once a week. And that's pretty typical for people who are a little bit more unsure. So you can really kind of use your career coach as much or as little as you want, like I said. But there will be some programming that's put on by our Career Management Center that is open to everyone. So we have a lot of workshops and programs that range from, you know, your LinkedIn presence and how to manage that to, you know, resume reviews. We've got mock interviews that take place prior to the career fair that takes place up here on Northwestern's campus. So in terms of kind of our approach to careers, you guys really have the best of both worlds, or the best of three worlds, I guess. You've got access to, you know, NCA still, you've got access to the Kellogg career coaching, and you've also got access to the resources here through athletics too. So you guys have all the support in the world. And we have a lot of kind of room to engage with employers. We also have a lot of networking opportunities. So something that we've done every single year that we have had an MSMS program, we've had something called company treks. So our students have been able to go out for 2 full days of company visits, and they'll typically go to employers that, you know, offer a range of different positions across different job functions. Our students will essentially get to go and tour those different places. They'll meet MSMS alumni or other Kellogg alumni working at those destinations and really get a sense for what the day-to-day is like. So I actually led one of the treks this year, so we got to go to Matter, which is a healthcare startup incubator downtown in the Merchandise Mart. We also went to Accenture. We went to, we went to LinkedIn last year. So again, we're really, you know, kind of expanding in terms of what companies we're going to every single year. And it's a fantastic way to just kind of get your feet wet if you are a little bit unsure in particular, and figure out, you know, what you value in a company, what type of role you might be thinking about. And those treks happen pretty early on in the MSMS experience, I would say within the first, you know, couple weeks of fall quarter, so that you really have kind of that context going into recruiting. So in terms of the support that our Career Management Center provides to our students are extremely satisfied. I'm really excited to share this actually just became, you know, official today, that 100% of last year's class is employed now. So everyone as of September 30th got a job offer, accepted a job offer, which is huge. We had a lot of those people who had started jobs like even a week after graduation. Like one of our students started the Monday after our Saturday graduation. So some people are a little bit more, you know, eager to throw themselves into that than others, but we have extremely high success when it comes to placement rate. And I mean, a lot of our students do, you know, secure those opportunities during fall quarter. We're seeing students have a lot of success this quarter with securing interviews. They're in the middle of, you know, getting offers and negotiating right now. But I think that what is important to note about kind of the recruiting cycle and when our students are getting offers is that in business it's incredibly industry dependent. So for consulting, our students are in those final rounds in negotiations right now. For people who want to go into a more kind of niche field, like we've got someone who graduated from Northwestern in journalism, she wants to go into product management in tech, super specific. They don't actually start recruiting until January. So her recruiting cycle is going to look a little bit different than people who, attended the career fair, are now going through final round interviews for consulting. So our career management office is really in tune with the different trends. They're really in tune also with when different companies are doing their hiring. So they're instrumental in, knowing when certain students should be hitting certain preparation benchmarks prior to their, launching their career search. So in terms of where our students go after MSMS, our students go to a variety of different industries, as you can see up here. We have a lot that go into consulting. I know I was joking with some of you earlier that Northwestern's kind of a consulting factory. We do have a lot of students who do pursue careers in that. We've got a lot that pursue careers in finance. But then we have some people who pursue careers in government, transportation, real estate. That looks really different from year to year, but MSMS really isn't a one-size-fits-all experience, and I think that's due to the fact that our curriculum is so broad. You're getting exposure to classes like finance, marketing management. You're getting exposure to classes on, like an analytical consulting lab too. So you do really have the opportunity to get that broad base of knowledge. But then with our, increased flexibility that we're introducing into the program next year with more electives, you'll be able to concentrate a little bit more into a certain area if you come into the program knowing that you want to launch your career into finance or something like that. Yeah.
Is that taken into consideration in the admittance process?
Nope, we do not expect you to have to figure it out.
No, I just meant if someone says, oh, I want to go into this.
Oh, no,
Okay.
I feel like everyone that I read last year wanted to go into consulting, and like half of those people are not going into consulting anymore. Other questions? Okay. In terms of geography, it ranges too. So we have a lot of people who just have fallen in love with Chicago during their time at Northwestern and at Kellogg, who choose to stick around in Chicago. We also have a lot of people in this past year's class who actually ended up going out to New York. We've got a lot who are in DC now as well. The South, not so popular with our students, but we do have a couple who have gone out to the West Coast or working in tech, and then we have some that have gone internationally too. Okay, and so I do just want to touch on the Kellogg community. So as a part of MSMS, you gain access to the Kellogg, alumni network. And I know you guys already have exposure and access to the Northwestern alumni network, but this essentially adds 60,000 plus to that network. And our alumni are exceptionally responsive. We have a lot of classes that require you to actually reach out to alumni for projects, so it's kind of forced networking. And our alumni have just been proven to be exceptionally responsive. We have a student in our program right now who, went to Vanderbilt, played football there. He was in a class called Leadership in Organizations over the summer where they had to reach out to a Northwestern alum. He actually reached out to one of the co-founders of Facebook, and they responded to him in less than 24 hours, who was a Kellogg alum. He got an excellent paper written out of that interaction, and now he's got that person in his network. So, I think that what is exceptional about our alumni network is that, again, the responsivity. If you've got an alumni network, it means absolutely nothing unless alumni are willing to really kind of pay it forward and talk to you. That's something that we've seen, of course, with our MBA alumni. It's also something that we're really seeing with our MSMS alumni. Last year's class in particular will not stop emailing me about ways to get involved with recruiting this year's class. So I think that our students really kind of ascribe to the pay it forward mentality that's throughout Kellogg. Questions? So another opportunity that's available to you as an MSMS student would be to come back and pursue our one-year MBA program. Some students are perfectly content with the MS Management Studies degree. Others do really want to see those 3 letters behind, on their portfolio of degrees, MBA. And because our MSMS program essentially mirrors the first year of curriculum in our 2-year MBA, we actually recommend that our students who want to get an MBA apply to our 1-year program. Our program really provides you with that foundation of knowledge that year 1 of a 2-year MBA would provide, and so it doesn't really make sense to go back and get a 2-year MBA and kind of repeat what you've already done. Also, being in the MSMS program proves that you can do the academic work that's expected at Kellogg. So typically, kind of the trajectory of our students who want to get an MBA would be that they would complete the MSMS, go out, work for, I don't know, like 2 to 4 years typically, and then apply for the 1-year MBA program at Kellogg. And we're just starting to see students from our first couple years apply to that program. That's actually a program that's based entirely in electives, so you have a lot of customizability built into what would be kind of the second part of your Kellogg experience. I kind of like to picture MSMS and the 1-year program as sort of bookends to your Kellogg experience, where you're laying that nice foundation of knowledge, you're getting some work experience, figuring out where your true interests lie, and then coming back to that 1-year MBA experience where you've got your career goals really, really honed. Does that make sense to everybody? Okay, cool. So we do have obviously a ton of alumni from Northwestern. Two I just want to highlight really quickly. So Danielle David was a graduate of our class of 2014, so she was in the first class of MSMS students. She had a really, really particular career search in that she knew she wanted to work for a tech giant. She was really intentional about making connections at places like Amazon and Google, actually got a job in operations with Google right after MSMS. So she was out on the West Coast working for Google. Google has such a strong Kellogg presence that there's actually a Kellogg alumni group at Google on their campus. And Danielle got promoted after her first year at Google to an operations director, and then she actually just switched over last spring to a company called Spoon University in New York City as an operations manager. So she's been, graduated from Northwestern for less than 4 years, and she's already gotten promoted twice. She's already worked for Google and now works for essentially a little startup in New York in a senior role. And then LaTierra Taylor actually was a student athlete here at Northwestern. She was on the women's basketball team, and she was able to, accomplish her goal of working for IBM, working as a digital consultant in Chicago as well. So our students from Northwestern have extremely high success rates with kind of their professional success after the program. So I do want to talk about the application process. If you're a senior, you probably got an email from me letting you know that our application is now live. Our application went live on Friday, and because we know that we want you to take your time with that process, we have slightly adjusted our deadlines. Formerly, our deadlines on our website had round 1 being on November 1st, which is like 2 weeks away, so we decided to adjust that to give you guys a little more time on your application. So round 1 will actually be on November 13th. We'll have round 2 in mid-February, and then round 3 in the start of April. The turnaround time from when you submit your application to when you actually receive a decision is pretty quick, so we try to basically turn those decisions around in under a month. So if you apply for round 1, you'll get your decision on December 8th. So we're pretty quick about it. We know that it's kind of a process that requires a lot of patience. We don't want to keep you waiting too long. So again, we try to be really quick and efficient about turning those decisions around. And then in terms of what you need to apply, we do have an application online. It's pretty brief. It just asks a little bit of information about your academic background, asks a little bit of information about your career goals. Again, we don't expect you to have it totally figured out. It doesn't factor into the admissions process at all. But we do kind of want to get a sense that you're thinking with that professional mindset. We also want to get a sense of why you're pursuing the MSMS and how it can help you achieve your goals. We also ask that you upload to our application a copy of your undergraduate academic record, so your transcript. It does not have to be an official transcript. We're not going to pay to make you send that. You can just download it through Caesar or take a screenshot. Either one is totally fine, and just upload that to our application. We also ask for a copy of your resume. So that should obviously include things like the fact that you're on the football team or wrestling team, or that you dive for Northwestern. Can also include things like internships if you've had those, and then can obviously include other extracurricular activities too. So we're really looking that you've kind of demonstrated your leadership, the impact that you've had on the Northwestern community, as well as, again, that kind of professional forward-thinking mindset. We do have a couple of different essays that we ask that you complete. The prompts are on our website right now. They're pretty short, so one is, I think, 300 words, the other is 500, so again, super short, super easy. One is essentially, walk us through your decision to apply MSMS. The other one has to do with, how you operate as a team member. So that's something you all should have a lot of familiarity with. Those essays should not take you a ton of time. We also do have video essays too, which I realize are something new for a lot of people. It's not a scary process, I promise. Our video essays you essentially get access to after you submit your application. Essentially what they are is just someone asking you a question about why you're planning to pursue this degree at Kellogg, or it might ask you kind of an icebreaker question as well. We're really just looking to, again, assess your reasons for applying to the MSMS program, also to assess your communication skills too, through those video essays. The whole video essay process takes less than 20 minutes, and that's including a pretty generous amount of time to practice. We do give you a practice question that you can go through as many times as you want if you're getting used to the technology or things like that. We also ask for 2 letters of recommendation. One of those should come from a professor. The other can basically come from whoever, as long as it's not a peer or a family member. It can come from a coach, it can come from an internship supervisor, it can come from another academic recommender, or maybe say like a student organization advisor, something like that. But we are looking for one to be purely academic in nature from a professor that you've taken a class with. And then finally, we do have an interview process that is required of all of our applicants. The interview process has changed a little bit from last year to this year, so our interviews will actually be taking place from essentially next week up until the day after the deadline. So our goal is to really have those interviews take place, and then we're kind of going to be off to the races with reading applications after that. Interviews will actually take place with me, as you can see, not a scary person. Don't freak out about the interview process. They'll be 30 minutes, behavioral in nature, pretty easy, and they'll take place in person up here in our new building. So, any questions about the application process? Yeah.
So then how do you apply for those interviews? Because they have to be done before you apply with like your application.
Yep, so that's a great question. So when you start your application, I can basically see who's applied and who's created an application. So once you've created an application, you'll get an invite to interview within 72 hours. And then you can basically pick and choose what day and time works best with your schedule.
Is there any benefit to the different rounds of application?
That's an interesting question. So between 1 and 2, not really. However, I will say as we move through the rounds, we fill more of the class. So if you know that this is a step you want to take, might as well apply round 1 or round 2. In past years, students who have been applying have had to take the GRE or GMAT. We've done away with that requirement for students that are applying, as well as the prerequisite courses. I know